From Julio Cruz and Gaylord Perry to Alvin Davis and Harold Reynolds, back to Ben Edgar with Randy A. Rod, Dan and the Sheriff, to Ichiro Moyer and Mikey C, to King Felix, Kyle Cruz and Cano, to the present with Julio, Gilbert, Kirby, and Cal. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my. It's another sports podcast. Out to our unbelievable producer, Indy, operating the ones and twos, making us sound good. And then, of course, making his triumphant return to the ring, he's put on jersey number 45 because of this epic comeback. He is floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. RG, welcome back, my friend.
Well, let's have a little bit of fun with this one and go back for him, all right? Don't try to compare us to another bad little fad. It's the Mac in a bag. Give you something that you've never had. I make you pump, pump, wiggle, and shake your rump. Cause I be kicking the flavor that makes you want to jump. How high? Real high. Cause I'm just so fly. A young, lovable, huggable type of guy. And everything is to the back with a little slack. Cause inside out is wiggity, 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 whack. That's your boy Ty Talks 24. The return of that dude RG. My oh my, it's another sports podcast. It's time to go to work.
Well, as y'all can already tell, we bring the funk and the flavor to this beautiful sport of baseball. We will touch on all major sports topics, but we always dive deep into our beloved Mariners. It was, I looked across the entire schedule, RG, for the entire season, and this was literally the toughest road trip the Mariners would face the entire season. I was hoping for a 6-4, but we came out 4-6. What are your first thoughts on this East Coast road trip?
I'll throw you two. I'll throw you two. 4-6 wouldn't have been bad if we were the Mariners from 5 years ago. But with all the shit that's been talked, with the way that our staff has been built, with the promises that have been made, we should be in this season. And unfortunately, it's American League Championship season or bust.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else this year would be acceptable. All that bullshit about 54%, you could throw it out the window. This is supposed to be the year that we're supposed to be able to get in there to compete. Three straight series losses is not acceptable at this point. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the glass is half full. We need some work done. We need some work done. Absolutely. Julio had had a very now let me start over again and slow that down. Julio had a very productive day today, but I swear that's not enough to be able to get this thing done for him. That's too much money in that boy's pocket for us to get one good game every 10-year average like the Nas and Jay-Z battle. That's what we're not going to be able to survive off of that. Yes, we have some injuries. Yes, JP is just coming back. It looks like Polanco may be hurt. We recall Clase up. We get send down Urias. We need a bat. We need a bat. Simple as plain as that. We need a bat. And the bullshit is that we can't afford one. Because if we could afford one, we would have gone after Matt Chapman in the offseason. Oh, he wouldn't do this here. He wouldn't do this here. If you looked at Matt Chapman's stats, I would love to be able to have that right now. Luckily, we've gotten the majority of these guys away from the Mendoza line. So we are doing well. Ty France smoked the shit out of a ball today, but we were salvaging getting swept today, is what I'm looking at. We were salvaging getting swept today. So I'm not gonna be too overly optimistic and tell anybody that we're back. I'll wait until we get done with this stretch of divisional opponents, see if we can keep the Houston Boogeyman from just shattering our dreams over the next 4 days. See if we can get some wins over the Angels, who are playing better ball than they thought than any of us thought we should. And Oakland is doing what Oakland has done for years, just be feisty and just staying in the mix. So yes, that was a very tough road trip, but to me, in order for us to be able to create that distance that we need to give us some breathing room, luckily the AL West is bad. The
Mhm.
AL West is really bad right now, but all of that can flip in the next 7 days. We're going to need offensive production.
Yeah, and it's tough to watch sometimes because you feel if the opponent gets 5 runs, we're toast, and it's not an absolute. We scored 9 runs today, but let's just look at where the consistency factor is, RG. So over this 10 game East Coast swing, we scored 3.4 per game. 3.4 per game ain't going to get the job done, even with the best pitching staff in baseball. And then this is baseball. So even if you have the best of the best, you are going to get touched up at times. And our pitchers gave up 5.1 runs per game. So, I mean, let's be real. We kind of got our asses kicked a little bit there. And you said it, man. Like, a team that wants to compete for an American League Championship Series is not going to lose 4 straight when 2 of those are the Nationals. I'm not going to get totally worried or crazy about this thing, though, because I thought 5-5 would be adequate. 6-4 is what your goal should be, but you can always shoot for the stars and still succeed. But man, it is all about capitalizing now because like my whole thought process, dude, was let's go 3-4 versus the Orioles and the Yankees. That's fine, but that's on the premise that we finish 2-1 or 3-0 against the Nationals. So now it's time. Our feet is to the fire coming up because we have Houston, Angels, Oakland, Kansas City, and the Chicago White Sox coming up for the next several series. We got to make hay, bro, because we did not capitalize as well as we should have on the East Coast. But my thing is in baseball, just manage the tough stretches. But if I'm going to be that lax, man, about managing the tough stretches, then your ass better come through when you have good opportunities. And for the next month and a half or so, it's good opportunities to stack up wins.
We're asking our pitching staff to do too much. We're
Mm,
asking our pitching staff to do too much. For us to be able to go out and compete in the way that these games went out, we need those guys to not give up more than 2 runs a damn night. That's that's asking way too much of those guys. And even when they do have amazing performances, we can't score. We can't score. It's like we're heading out the Felix 6 out of 5, 6 out of 7 days a week now. We have to
mm,
be able to manufacture runs. We need guys to just go up there and stop trying to hit the ball out of the park and just put the ball in play. Put pressure on the defense. Throw a bunt in. Just try to steal some bases. Create some chaos somehow. We can't just go up there and expect Garver to launch 400-foot home runs. And yeah, I know he's from my hometown and he's struggling, but we still got to ride with him. He's all we got.
mm,
We still got to ride with him. He's all we got. I look at Aaron Judge's numbers right now, and then look at where Julio's at. And I'm like, man, something has to be up. Maybe the pressure's just getting to him. Maybe there's something wrong in the swing. And then he came out today, and he had very two productive swings at the end of the game, where he hits the home run, and then he gets the base hit that helps break it open. And he stayed short inside to the ball, and then was able to launch the ball out of the ballpark. It's we got to be able to get more consistency out of him having those types of at bats like that. But it's not just him; it's the rest of the lineup has to stand up too. Rest of the lineup has to stand up. Josh Rojas has been a fucking savior for us this season. And I was on the fence about him when we signed him at first too. But to me, it's what's going to happen when our team is constructed with these reacclimation projects, where instead of being able to spend money on the guy who might be proven, we're going to take the guy who's a little less expensive, who's coming off a down, and hope that he has the work ethic and the gall to be able to find it in himself to go up there and perform again. Sometimes it turns into Josh Rojas, who's hitting over 300, and then sometimes it turns into Luis Urias, who just got optioned down to AAA. But we're like built like that all up and down the lineup. Even
mm.
Polanco's not doing Polanco things that we expected to do. I still remember that night I was driving through Illinois And you, and Tyler went crazy. Me, you, and Indy went crazy when it was like, oh God, we got a guy who's consistently just gonna hit doubles and hit doubles and hit doubles. He seemed to have left that behind at the Minneapolis airport before he took that flight up on Delta to the Pacific Northwest. But again, it's baseball. We're still just in May. There's still a lot of time to be able to try to get this thing right and figure it out. We're in a good position, but I'm telling you, man, we need to be able to start putting these things away.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I do think we need to add at least one or two bats, one impact and one maybe contributor, not a star, not even a stud, just a contributor. But the fact is, we also have a lot of guys like you were referencing Polanco and Mitch Garver. We have a lot of guys that are underachieving right now. Now, I don't know exactly what it is. Is it our hitting philosophy as a team? Is it the ballpark? Is it the marine layer? It's probably a lot of it mixed together, but we absolutely need Polanco and Garver and Haniger. We need these guys to at least be close to their baseball card. And then you were talking about not hitting and putting all of the stress on the pitchers. So I just looked at the 4 game losing streak they went through from Wednesday, May 22nd through Saturday, May 25th, RG. We scored 1.5 runs per game. We didn't even score 2 runs per game. How in the hell do you expect to win baseball games when you can't score 2 freaking runs? And so I'm not going to Mariners apologist a lot of the times, but there's no excuse for not scratching out more than two. On the positive, and it can be a negative. My good friend Eric Neal was on with us the other week, and I was pointing out how guys like Rojas and Dylan Moore were playing so well, and he pointed out we need our best players to play better. If Demo and Rojas are our best players, we ain't gonna win shit. But I'm gonna give a shout out to my brother Nick. My brother told me this weekend, and I never heard it before. He called him "Do It All Dylan," and do it all Dylan is doing it frickin' all, man. During this 10-game road trip, the dude batted 355 with 3 home runs, 6 runs scored, 4 doubles, 7 RBI, and 7 frickin' walks, good for a 450 on base percentage. Can some of y'all step up like Dylan has? Man, if any of these guys could scratch their potential the way Demo has, we'd be in a much better spot, dude.
Bro, I'm telling you, man, thank God for Dylan Moore. Just been able to just been able to do his job and come in and fill in holes when we've needed someone to come in and help take over these offensive ranks, man. Just happy to have that dude. Happy to have him part of the team. Happy to see him doing well. And if you really want to show your appreciation for Dylan Moore, like I said in the off mic conversations that we have, start beating down the block for that dude to make the All Star team if he continues on this hot stretch. He's going to be the one that deserves to go represent us in the Midsummer Classic. Keep beating down the block for him. Start beating down the block for him now. Go buy a jersey. Go buy a bobblehead. Support that dude. Let's do what we can other than just screaming at the radio and the TV to show that dude some love. Because really, without the way he's been playing, man, we starting to look like Drake versus Kendrick. I tell you that.
I know one guy's a
Yeah,
pop star and one guy's got bars. That's all I know about that thing. But
dude, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, it's what did I before we had the breakout today? The only 2 runs we scored against the Nationals were both home runs.
mm,
We are on pace to have the most runs scored off of home runs that we've ever had in the history of the Mariners. But that's not going to get us the the AL West title. That's not going to get us into the wild card. That's not going to get us deep into the playoffs. We need to be able to start putting bat to ball and do a better job of having these. Why do we have to always go through these 5 games of inequity? We have 1 game of playing well. Some of the fan base starts blowing up like, all right, we're back, we're back, we're back. That's not how baseball works, though, guys. It's not how
mhm.
baseball works. And I'll never tell another person how to fan. The way that you fan and the way that you watch the games, as long as we're cheering for the blue, hey, we'll all stay true to the blue together. But today, to me, isn't anything that we should be over the moon about. We played our asses off to salvage a series versus the Nationals. Tough road
Amen.
trip. Tough road trip. We need some home cooking. We need some home cooking, and it's going to start tomorrow. Our boy Bryce Miller is going to be on the mound already announced. He's going to have his shot to go shut down the cheating lineup. And for those of you in the area, if you it's tomorrow's a holiday. If you're not having that good barbecue, if you're not tearing up some Dungeness crab, make your way to the corner of Edgar and Dave, pack that place out, start banging trash cans. I don't care what you got to do. Bregman is from Albuquerque, and you could tell him you could tell him too much to Madre and just start cussing that fool out. Just do whatever you can, man. But represent for us this week. We're gonna need you this week. Represent for us for those of you in the area who can make it out to games. Make it tough for the other team. We need that energy.
Yeah, and I don't give a shit what the Astros record says. This is a dangerous team every time you play them,
Mhm.
especially when you're an in division opponent. Framber Valdez has given us fits for years and years now, and that's who we're going to face on Monday night. So I'll be nervous about that one. And speaking of Bryce Miller, I'm a little bit concerned about him, dude. I would say 85 to 90% of the team's woes need to be placed on the hitters, but there is a small fraction that needs to be put at the pitcher's feet. And Bryce Miller had an incredible start to the season. He was looking like a Cy Young candidate, but he only has one quality start in his last four outings. George Kirby has had a really up and down season. He has a 4.33 ERA, and I was pounding my chest, talking all that shit that George Kirby's going to be top five Cy Young. Well, that's not going to happen right now. He's got absolutely annihilated his last two starts, but Brian Wu has been damn near untouchable in his four starts so far. What a freaking baller. We'll see how it holds up. We know how pitching in baseball is in general. Luis Castillo has eight straight quality starts. La Piedra is being exactly that, the rock of the rotation. And of course, RG, I wasn't hating. I was saving your boy for last on the list. LG the OG with a 3.06 ERA. He got crushed four starts ago against the Twins, but he has bounced back with three straight quality starts since. And your boy LG the OG talked to me about him is tied for the league lead in quality starts. He is the Rock of Gibraltar right now for the Mariners rotation.
He's going to come out and give you the best opportunity to win. He's going to pitch like it matters. Every game is game seven of the World Series to him. He's going out there to compete. He's going out there to compete. He's not afraid of you. There's nothing he's not going to throw. He's standing up there and in the equation. He's the A side of all of these fights that he gets into 18, 19 times a game. He is the man. He is the man. I told someone on Bleacher Report when he got shelled the other night. Thank God that that is the worst we are ever going to see him. Almost the rest of his career. He is not going to take that line down. And just like you said, the boys bounced back with three quality starts. Um, I want to say that the metric for a quality start is six innings pitched with less than three earned runs giving up to a
Yes.
minimum of 18 batters. So that's more than half the game right there. Logan is out there doing what he has to do. It's just again going to be take a look at these numbers. Runs scored against runs against. If you look at the rest of the division leaders in baseball, the Yankees have a plus 92 run differential. The Orioles have a plus 61 run differential. I only bring them up because they're so close in the standings to each other. The Guardians are plus 73 in run differential. And even the second place team, the Royals, have a better run differential than they do, 76. Again, just mere game separate them. Phillies have a 93 run differential. The Brewers even have a 45 run differential. Of course, the Dodgers with their lineup have a 69 run differential. There's not a single team in the American League West that has a positive run differential right now. We are -7. We are -7 in run differential right now. The Detroit Tigers have a better run differential than the Mariners do. Just not being able to put the ball in play, not being able to score runs, not being able to get guys across. Luckily, like I said, the rest of the league, the rest of the American uh, League West is down, but the Rangers have a better one than we do. The Astros have a better one than we do. Now, all transparency, we're at -7, Rangers are at -6, Astros are at -4. That could be flipped in one series with the way that their offenses are built,
Mhm.
especially with Cuban Babe Ruth. It just hates us. Just hates us. So he might be able to take care of that himself over the next 4 games. Just need to be able to get more offensive production and not asking our starting pitching staff to, hey, can you hold everybody to 2 runs until we get to July 15th? That's fucking impossible to be able to do. But still, we're in a decent position, still have a 3 game lead over the Rangers, 3.5 over the Astros, a chance to put Oakland and the Angels down this week. We have to be able to handle business. If we come out of this thing with any less of a lead than we went into, it may not be time to press the panic button, but it sure would be time to know where that motherfucker's at.
Real talk, man. And you were just saying about handling your division. Our next three series are against divisional foes with Houston, Anaheim, and Oakland. And then four of our next six series will be against divisional opponents. So it's always insane to say it's a gotta have it game in the middle of a baseball season, but we got to do work right now because the division, like you said, the division's kind of shitty right now. We can put some major separation between us and our opponents. And, you kind of read off how well a lot of the other teams at the top of the league are doing. And it points to me that the last three seasons for the Mariners, I was just like, stick around. We can make the wild card. That shit's not going to fly this year. Like, we have to win the division because the rest of the league is playing so well, at least enough teams are, that there's going to be no wild card for the AL West unless someone puts on a Moneyball type 20 game winning streak here. So it it's really time to pump it up and get this thing going for the Mariners. RG, you said something in our group text earlier today, and it was because Stanek and the bullpen were getting shelled a little bit again. Stanek has been up and down this year. His stats actually make him look pretty good, but if you follow the team closely enough, he has been far from perfect in a bunch of critical situations. The Mariners made a couple of additions this week to the bullpen. Do you think we need to make any high profile ones, or do you think the lower under the radar ones that they seem to do so well with will suffice for now?
The low under the radar guys is where Jerry and Justin have made their money at in
Yeah.
running this franchise.
Yeah.
So I don't expect them to go out and go get a big name guy. And then even if you do go out to go get a big name guy, Edwin D is a sucking ass right now.
Mm.
Just it's so it's all thin ice. It's really all just thin ice. And I just would love to know when we have a chance of getting Brash and but Brash might be out for the season, right? So there's no chance of
We're
getting
not going
Brash
to
back
see him
this
till
year.
the summer of next year.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, no chance of getting Brash back. Okay. So man, just but Salcedo's coming back. He just came off
Mhm.
the IL when I
Yep.
say so. We're definitely gonna need a big step up from him. I saw some people in the chat today during the game was like, whatever we do, please don't let Thornton see the mound. So maybe we got to find something for that guy to do, even if it's just handing out Kool Aid in the seventh inning stretch. But man, we have the pieces who were there. Health was going to be the biggest factor for me as we were rolling through this season. The health bug has kind of it's been playing with us, but it hasn't been too detrimental to us. I just can't get over the fact that our offense is just so mediocre right now. The worst offense of a
Mediocre.
first. Hey, hey, that's the nicest adjective I could think of. That's the nicest adjective I could think of. I could have said our offensive riffraff right now. We don't belong in the game, but that's just being a little too mean. Uh, we just need more production, and we've been screaming this for years, though. It seems it's been like this is the same old story ever since we started playing more consistent baseball and actually being in the hunt through the last few games of the season. It's been the same old story about our offense, our offense, our offense, our offense. Something will click. For those of you who follow us on Bleacher, been rocking with us on Bleacher Report for a while, the running joke has always been our season doesn't start until we blow a series to the Nationals, and now we've just blown a series to the Nationals. So if you believe in those type of things, the 13 game winning streak is coming. But what happens if we don't get that 13-game winning streak? Do we have enough to be able to piece together a couple 4 wins, 5 wins, take a L or two because that's just how baseball works. Come back with 4 more wins, scoring runs. But like you said, if we're averaging what was that 1.1, 1.5 runs a game,
Yep. In that
that ain't
losing
gonna
streak,
get us
yeah.
shit. That ain't gonna
No.
get us shit. Oh man, just it's a tough time to be a Mariner fan again, and we're in first place. This is you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I guess two things could be true at the same time. What you got for me?
I say that all the time. In things way more important than sports. I'm talking about politics and social issues and stuff like that. Two truths can be right at the same time, man. But I just want to step back really quickly because we can dive into the offense for the next 10 years the way it's looking because it feels like we're wasting a golden opportunity in this window right now. But this Mike Bauman we traded for from the Baltimore Orioles is actually a really solid, good reliever, dude. We traded our AAA catcher, Blake Hunt, who's actually been hitting the shit out of the ball for the Tacoma Rainiers. So I hope we would get back a decent pitcher for giving up someone that's kicking ass in AAA right now. We got back a journeyman catcher who is kind of whatever. He's probably not even as good as Sebi Zavala, and you know how I feel about that guy right there. But this Mike Bauman, man, at 28 years old, he has a 3.44 ERA right now. He has a mid to high 90s fastball, an 87-mile-an-hour curve, and a 92-mile-per-hour slider. We've seen this Mariners organization do work with dudes with sliders and sweepers, such as your. Oh, God, how can I even
Don't
forget
do
his
it.
name now?
Don't do it. Don't do
Motherfucker
it.
Jones.
Don't do it. I told you not to do it. I told you not to do it.
No, but for real, Paul Sewald was a reclamation project. We have, and Thornton might have gotten touched up lately, but he's been a great hidden gem. They found some random asses with sliders and sweepers who have done serious work in the bullpen. I'm hoping this Bauman at 28 too. So there's every reason to believe that he has good stats. Maybe we could do even more. But man, 92-mile-per-hour slider? Come on, bro. That shit sounds kind of devastating to me. But the elephant in the room, I guess, is we know that the Mariners would like to try to bring in some more hitting, even though I'm so frustrated, bro. Like you said, Polanco, we thought was a doubles machine. Haniger, I at least thought would hit 220 with 20 bombs. I don't even think he's going to get to 220 this year. And Garver, that one's frustrating too because we've seen him hit for years now. But the one caveat I would say, dude, is I'm looking at hitters like maybe a scorer in basketball. it's really easy. I shouldn't say easy, but it's easier to be the third or fourth scorer on a team. You're not the marked man. They're not game planning for you. And then a guy like Garver or Teoscar Hernandez are like the fourth or fifth best hitter on their previous team, and the Mariners bring him in and tell them you need to be third or fourth, and that shit's so much different being the marked man. So shit, man. Hopefully these guys can get it going. But you know what, dude? Good old Bleacher Report. One of their reporters put out a very interesting list recently and quoted the Mariners as being the number one destination spot for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Tell me your thought on prospects versus proven players, dude.
Want to make sure I give him the proper respect for this state that I love so much. Mad Dog Chris Russo. Prospects are suspects until they hit the league and can actually perform. I think it's great that our backup catcher was hitting well enough that someone looked at him and we were able to get a major league arm for a minor league player.
Yeah.
Suspects, prospects are suspects until they hit the league and able to perform. You don't know what that guy's going to be able to do when he gets up to it. And I'm speaking from my own point of view. You can roast me online about it. You can come onto the podcast. We can have a debate about it. I've grown some things or two in my lifetime. And no matter how many seeds you plant until you get to the flowering stage and you see how that plant is actually developing, I don't know if I'm going to be able to carry it on in the 8 week cycle or if I need to throw that son of a bitch outside and burn it to all hell so it doesn't ruin the rest of my crop, if you know what I'm saying about. If you know, you know. I do not get hung up on guys in double A and triple A until they can actually get up to the major leagues and do some damage. Julio might be one of the rare exceptions that we have. Ford might be able to do something only because Ford plays on the English national team. And when they go to the international competition, he's facing a lot of major league players.
Mm.
Ford might be tested a little bit different in the way that I look at that. Other than that, whatever we need to give up, it may need to be an arm or two as well too, but we need offensive production. If we have a chance to be able to get Vlad, I will help Ty France and his new baby pack up right now, and they can go straight to Canada, where everybody can speak that French Canadian shit to him, and he can go up there and have a ball. But if we have a chance to get a bat like Vlad, I would absolutely take it. Um, some people probably aren't going to be happy with what we're going to have to give up to make that move happen. I'm okay with selling out one time to try to get us there. We did it with Cano, and that really did well. The Cano years are just kind of, but in order to be able to get it back like Vlad, we're going to be have to be able to give up something. What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to give up? There should be four pitchers who are untouchable. The rest of them I'd be willing to play with. And for
Mm.
right now, Brian Wu has just made himself the fourth untouchable pitcher.
I like it. I like it, man. I just had to put you on the spot there, but it's because I knew you would feel that way. And I actually love prospects, but it's just looking at the economic side of pro sports. Can you find guys that can ball out on minimum salaries? That's the key to winning. The team, I mean, maybe baseball is a little different because you got the Yankees and Dodgers spending damn near 300 million. But check this out, man. So remember how a lot
Hold
of
on,
people
hold
were,
on, hold on. Before you go.
oh, hit it.
Let's break this down real quick. Look like that. With the money that the Yankees and the Dodgers are spending, are they spending any on that to not go out and get somebody proven? Are they are they putting their season hopes on guys who they may not even be at the major league level by the time we get to the All-Star break? No, they're
No.
going out and they're looking at winners. They're going out, they're looking at guys who've been able to perform. They're going out and looking at guys who've been able to do the damn thing before. Me and you are the only two rookies in the game who are going to set the world on fire right now, and they won't even give me and you a motherfucking bat. So I'm sorry, man. I just disagree, and I got to dead that right now. I know
No,
you
that's
love
I get
prospects.
that.
The way that you and Andy talk about the drafts and everything, the way that you guys that's dope to me to be that informed about it. But even with Ichiro, a rookie who won Rookie of the Year and the league MVP, and what did we win with Ichiro?
Nada.
Sorry, man. I do not get excited about a prospect until they're actually up at the major league level. They are performing, and it has to be more than the 2 week um, sensation where they'll make Sports Center a couple times, have a couple cool highlights, hit a couple cool home runs, and then by the time we get to the end of August, you ain't never heard of that motherfucker again because he's back flipping pancakes in Arkansas. Just you win at the major league level with proven guys. You can have a couple of them, and hopefully you can come in and piece them together, be able to take two of them and make one decent ball player. But as far as that rookie revolution and the prospect revolution coming up, I think in baseball, it's the hardest sport to be able to do that.
Mm.
If I'm that, and just my opinion, just stating my opinion.
Well, just think about it like this. So, say you are drafted from college football to the NFL. You go from college football to the NFL. If you get drafted from college baseball, you have rookie ball, single A, double A, triple A. You got to advance like 4 or 5 teams between college and the top level. And you're right with the Yankees and the Dodgers. You get your like Mookie Betts, you get Otani, you get Garrett Cole, you get MVPs and Cy Youngs. But I still believe that prospects are crucial. That doesn't mean you actually play them all. It doesn't mean you promote them all. But this is what we're talking about is trades, bro. Because as funny as it is, we bitch and moan about the Mariners all the time and their spending. We can still be sharks upon the minnows in the really poor teams, and we've done that before. And I kind of looked back at the Luis Castillo trade because it's been a couple years now. And this is a direct quote at the time from CBS Sports. The Reds got a quote huge prospect haul for Luis Castillo. Now let's look at who they actually got, bro. Noel V. Marte, like you said, cup of coffee, 123 plate appearances and 316. That's fucking awesome. But guess what?
And did that boy
Guy
just
is
get caught with a
suspended.
needle in his arm?
He is still
Eh,
suspended right now. He's 80 game suspension, bro. Number 29 prospect in baseball, but he is serving an 80 game suspension. Edwin Arroyo is currently on the 60-day DL. He's hitting 248 in high A, high single A. Levi Stout, starting pitcher, cut by the Reds. The Mariners picked him up and put him on Tacoma. Andrew Moore, reliever, has a career 4.6 ERA in the minors. To me, I made a new quote after reading this, dude. A huge prospect haul equals lots of unproven players. That's kind of what you're speaking at. And then we can just look at how a trade turned out. Luis Castillo has been everything we hoped for. La Piedra, he's an absolute rock for the rotation, dude. And there was a lot of critics and fans that thought that this was a shitty trade for the Mariners. And unless lightning strikes 2 or 3 times for Cincinnati, the Mariners crush this trade. And so I'm looking that the Mariners have four of the top 100 prospects in baseball right now. There are only 3 teams in baseball that have more top 100s than the Mariners. Dude, let's move some dudes and really freaking go after this goddamn thing because we have a window. You said you have 4 untouchable starters. Tell me, Archie, how many teams in baseball have 4 untouchable starters? Maybe none.
Hey man, if it has to become three, it has to become three. Wait,
Yeah, fair
since
enough.
we do a good job of always doing trades with the Reds that seem to work out in our favor more than anybody else, somebody let me know when we get a Ellie De La Cruz in a Mariner jersey. Just go ahead and just book it for us, baby. Just go ahead and just book it for us. I completely get what you're saying, man. I just then I'm gonna go back to where we were at in the off season. If we had the capital to be able to make some of the moves, would we to handle this offseason a little bit better? I if we get Vlad at the trade deadline, are we just keeping him until October? Are we
No,
going to be able to keep him around?
he'll be under contract for next season. And that's why I think that reporter from Bleacher was big on Vlad for the Mariners, because it feels like the front office and ownership are not going to trade assets for a half a year rental. But if we got a year and a half out of Vlad Jr. before we lose him, I could see them pulling the trigger.
I'm gonna tell. I'm gonna tell. I'd love to
You're
be
right.
able to have him. I love to be able to have him. It's it's just not to me in the way that Jerry and Justin move for us to be able to go make a move for a guy like that.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I mean, they've never made a blockbuster trade for a hitter, but that's so far. They did make a blockbuster for Luis Castillo, and that's why I went back and looked that trade up, because I know you and me and most Mariner fans, we're not looking for the super savvy type of trade that they try to make all the time, because a lot of those just burn up in your face. But I mean, you could, like we're talking about, you can only spend the money that is in your budget. You know, we can't be out here paying overdrawn fees over and over again, you know, like real regular people would. And so what's funny is we honestly don't know what we're even looking at. The books aren't open in Major League Baseball. It's not like the NFL. Every single team is printing cash constantly. So you know that the money's there whether you're a quote poor team or not. But there's a lot of guys out there on losing teams we need to try to poach. But then at the same time, dude, a lot of those guys are similar to what we already traded for. That's why I'm pounding the table to try to find an actual difference maker. I just have no clue where Toronto's at. All I know is they were a good team for several years, but that AL East is so goddamn good. If you're in last place, you're not making it to first.
Dude, just the way that the wild card standings are set up. We were talking about that earlier. That there will be no wild card for the AL West this year.
No.
Orioles, Royals, Twins, Red Sox, Tigers, Blue Jays is what the wild card lays out to be right now, with the Rangers and the Astros holding the spots in between the Rays and the Blue Jays. Blue Jays 23 and 29, 44% winning percentage, negative 38 run differential. It'll be really interesting to see what it is that they really, really want to do. Um, I think if we can make the move, we go for it. But just from what I've seen with my own two eyes with Justin and Jerry, that's not really how they make moves. I would love to be able to do it. You brought up the Castillo thing. I was in Houston at a Houston Astros Mariner game on a Friday night. Robbie Ray on the mound. Game with Justin Verlander pitching. Should have been a great time to be a fan. It was only a great time to be a fan for about the first 4 innings. And then all of a sudden, Jordan Alvarez just started hitting balls to the top of Minute Maid Park. I walked out of there. Astro fans were nice. A couple guys sitting next to us just bought us some beers, and no one really wanted to pour one on my head. But it also helps that I'm 6'1", 285 pounds, and no one really wants to mess with your boy. Uh, I walk out of the stadium. We get to the car. As soon as I put it in, phone goes off, and I see that we traded for Luis Castillo. It was so awesome. It was so awesome, and the dude just came in and fit with it. I would love to have one of those nights where we all look down the phone and it says that Vlad Guerrero is a Mariner. I don't know what they're willing to part with and what they give up with. It would have to be a contract. It would have to be a way to get that deal to where he's on this team all the way through the 2025 season, or I don't think that is worth it. Again, I don't know if something like that is in Jerry and Justin's wheelhouse. That's not Bass isn't what they seem to want to go after. If we ended up going after a pitcher or a reliever, that seems something more like what they would do. Um, what I don't want to see happen is what we've done each of the last 3 years either. And the guy who is the leading relief pitcher, by the time we get to the All Star break, he's shipped out before we get to the beginning of August. We did it with Kendall Graveman. We've even done it with motherfucker Jones. we just we just happen to, oh, okay, there's some trade value in that guy. Let's package him up and get him the hell out of here. Let's not. do that this year because we're going to need all that firepower at the back end, especially if we got two guys that are still on the IL that we're not gonna get back until 2025.
Yeah, I hear you. I just want to ask you a quick question, and I honestly kind of know your answer. What would I say if we needed to trade Hancock, baseball's number 27 prospect Cole Young, and Tyler Locklear, who was balling out in Double A for Vlad Jr.?
Not Felicia.
And
It's not
so,
you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. We should see other
no, it is
people.
you.
Uh, it absolutely is me. That's right. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Just be
No, I would pull the trade immediately too. I guess my bigger concern is ownership. Is how much money are they willing to take on? So Vlad Jr. is like a 19 plus $1 million player right now. And so even if we put Ty France in the deal to offset it, that's still like 12, $13 million coming onto the payroll. I This is why my boy Keith is so frustrated, and you could see the steam coming out of his fucking ears, is because we don't even know if Mariners ownership really cares that much. And to me, I think they care to a certain extent. Like, there's a reason they just spouted out 54%, because 54% is going to keep you in the race. It's going to keep you in the discussion. And if they can just keep the fans interested for the entire season, they're going to make enough money. They had the highest profit margin in all of baseball last season. And so I'm worried that they want to keep these young prospects more from an ownership standpoint than the front office standpoint, because this keeps the window of above mediocrity for a much longer period. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm here to eat crow. I'm happy to say I was dead ass wrong about Josh Rojas. Sadly, I don't think I'm going to be wrong about ownership.
just like a duck, talks like a duck, flies like a duck, baby. We already know what it is. We know what we're gonna get from them. We know what we're going to get from them. Let's see if and Justin can go in there with a convincing enough case that this is the move that we should make, or let's see if they come back with a re-engineered version of Brett Boone from 2001 without the steroids and tell us that that was the best that they could get with the resources that they had.
Shit, I want Brett Boone on all of that shit, man.
All of it. All of it.
Dude,
Cheating
that
is a part of life, baby.
hey, it's not cheating if it's not against the rules.
That might be true.
I'm
That
just
might be true.
saying, if it's not in the rules, if it's not in the laws, you ain't breaking no rule. You ain't breaking no law. All I know is that dude came in here and had maybe the best offensive season a second baseman's ever had. And they're gonna try to pop you for shit nowadays. I want all of the Mariners to be careful. You can't be stupid. You can't be rogue. We know that there are scientific ways to get past this and that. That's a discussion for another day. But you know what's fucking
Quick
awesome,
clean,
dude?
baby. Shout out
You
to
know
those of
what's
you walking
awesome?
around with the heating pad with quick clean in your drawers right now. I've been there before. Shout
Dude,
out to
it's
all of
been
y'all.
really disappointing and we're in first place.
Double-edged swords, man. Just the good. No good deed goes unpunished, I guess. Just let's just see if we can ride. Let's just see if we can ride. Let's make it through the onslaught of Cuban Babe Ruth over the next 4 days. And I like our chances against the Angels and the A's.
So you know where I stand, man. You ride with the Eagles, I ride with the Seahawks. So you might
Who?
not have experienced this. Bro,
Who?
do you think we apologized when we made the playoffs at 7-9? That
Oh
7 and
no.
playoff team was the Beastquake run. Maybe the greatest run in football history was from a 7-9 playoff team. So you ain't ever gonna see me apologize for being mediocre as shit and making the playoffs. We might be one of those random ass Washington Nationals types that has barely a winning record and somehow takes it all the way. our hitting's not going to allow that. But you know what? All you need to do is catch lightning in the bottle at the end of the season, man. That's just that simple. Bobby Cox, the manager of those awesome Braves for what 15 years in the 90s and early 2000s, they won one title, and he always said it is just random as shit when you get to the playoffs.
It is. It is. Anything can happen. Throw all those stats and all those analytics and all those performances and all those headaches right out the window because the roller coaster ride is going to happen. You saw it with Texas last year. Texas couldn't win a game from the time the September started. And when by the time it was all said and done, they was holding the commissioner's trophy right and bright over their heads, man. Just it's a crapshoot when it gets into the tournament. It's one of the greatest tournaments that I think exists. Just oh man, just oh, I just don't see us being able to sneak in the back, performing the way that we are, not being able to score runs. I think that's the most shocking that we're in first place and we have the third worst run differential in the division.
Mhm.
But
Well,
the
I
Nats
can
will do that to you.
have that run differential, dude. Because you got me looking now with displaying how we are kind of mediocre at best versus teams kicking ass and taking names. The Mariners have the second fewest runs in the American League right now. The second fewest runs in the American League. That shit's not gonna fly. And I'm not asking them to somehow be, the Oakland A's with Conseco and Mark McGuire juiced out of their minds. Like, I just want them to be okay. If we can just be I, we're gonna be I. But we'll see how that goes, man. Baseball is a crazy sport to follow, dude. Because was it like Monday or Tuesday night? I was so pumped. I was talking shit to everybody. The Mariners with an epic come behind win versus the Yankees. I couldn't be more hyped. And then 5, 6 days later, I couldn't be lower on the team. And I think that's why we love following baseball is you're gonna be up and down for 162 games.
I hate the Yankees for three reasons. One, they're the Yankees. I hate the Yankees for 1995. Even though we won, I hate the Yankees for 1995 just because that was the first time we took a swing and we hit the bully in the block on the mouth. Then we get to 2000 and 2001. And yeah, I know that could equate to four, but I'm the one telling this story. You shut the fuck up. I cannot stand the New York Yankees. Any glimmer of hope that we ever get against them, I will ride to the moon. Can't stand them. Can't stand them. We have the greatest comeback against the guy who's probably the best closer in baseball right now, and we just take him to the woodshed and just wop 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 dot fuck him up. Wop 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 wop. Watch us do our stuff. Then we come out and just blitz them. Then the bottom falls out, and we lose the last two. Then we go to Washington and we effectively scored 2 runs in 48 hours. Just it's just typical Seattle Mariner baseball. It's just the way that being a Mariner fan is. Highs are the highs, the lows are the lows. But yeah, just it's gonna be real interesting. It's gonna be real interesting. We just need to be able to put bat to ball somehow. I'm tired of being able to say that, of having to say that. We need to find a way to get it done.
Amen,
Got
brother.
some
Amen.
got some breaking news here, man. Breaking news here.
Shout it out.
Reigning MVP Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be out for the remainder of the 2024 season with a complete tear of the ACL in his left knee.
Uh,
One of the up and coming young stars of the game, man. Hate to be able to see it for him. Hopefully he could come back, even though he doesn't play on our team and he doesn't play in our league. When you are not watching Mariner baseball and you're just enjoying baseball as a whole, as we all happen to do, he's one of the best to be able to watch, man. Just his talent is undeniable. Hopefully, he could bounce back from this and coming back to electrifying the fields. giving fans what they want and just keep bringing good energy to the game. When it's one of the good guys, man, you really hate to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you said it, he's good for the game. He's an ambassador of the game, and we know that baseball has gone from the national pastime to more of a niche sport. And losing a guy like that for a calendar year at best is a really tough blow. We're honestly way more used to these catastrophic knee injuries in football compared to baseball. It's still an athletic sport, and the Braves have basically lost a Cy Young contender and an MVP candidate to serious hardcore injuries within a couple months span. They're still a deep enough team. I fully expect them to have a good year. But I'm with you, man. Just speedy recovery, hoping for the best. Because, I mean, we're talking about a guy that's like a 30-60, like a 30-70 type of dude last year.
Yeah, yeah.
Unreal power speed combo, which you just don't see often.
Lighting up the record books, man. Being able to do
Mhm.
things that are highly unseen. And I like to be able to say that I was around when Otani has these couple years, and even the way that Julio got off to his start, and Acuna Jr. and Ellie De La Cruz, man, is one of the he's next, man. Just these guys who aren't choosing football anymore and bringing that crazy athleticism over here to baseball.
Mhm.
It's good for the game. It's good for the game. It's gonna bring eyes in. You can hate Caitlin Clark all you want to, but there's going to be a whole lot of money being made this year off of the eyes that
Yep.
her and Angel Reese are bringing. So, hey, man, enjoy the ride. Let's just hope that all these guys can stay up because it makes everything better overall for the growth of the game. And that's what we're here for, is because we love baseball. Yes, we happen to be Mariner fans, but we love the game of baseball. Shout out to Acuna Jr., man. I hope you can come back healthy real soon.
Well said, man. And we know we're in the heat of baseball season. We know we love the Mariners. But one thing is, I know we both like hoop. And I know I've drifted away here and there, but when it comes to March Madness and then when it comes to the NBA playoffs, they pull me right back in, baby. And it's been really fun for me because we've talked about this on our group text RG, but basically the NBA has been completely dominated by dynasties and mini dynasties with the exception of the 1970s and the last 6 years. We are now down to the conference finals. It's guaranteed that there will be a new champion in terms of the group of players currently on each squad. Just talk to me about what you think of the NBA playoffs and the last four standing.
To me, if you're a fan of the NBA, you're getting to see something that you haven't seen in almost 30 years. The transition of the new crop taking over from the old crop. And I say that it's been that long because Duncan and Kobe never had a chance to take it from Jordan. One, he wasn't going to allow it. And two, he's away when they're starting their dominance. And when he comes back as the Wizards, that's not competing for dominance like he used to. So you never saw that transition being able to happen. I've said a couple times where I can't tell you if LeBron took the league from Kobe because to me it wasn't Kobe's lead to give. So we miss out on it from 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12 into the Heat Big Three, go from there. Where we did get a glimpse of it was Steph Curry and LeBron. And to me, that's not so much of a changing of the guard. That's I'm here on this level too, and you were going to have to go through me now in order to be able to get something. And then to team them up with Kevin Durant just becomes the ultimate cheat code. It's you thought that Drake versus Kendrick was 20v1. Nah, the very first time we got that battle when Golden State said we don't have enough to beat you on our own, we're just gonna go get the ultimate cheat code and win two more titles and go to three more finals. None of those superstars from the 2010 to 2020 area are anywhere involved right now in the playoffs. LeBron's home, Steph's home, KD's home, Kawhi Leonard is home. The dynasty killer himself, he's home. This is a new young crop of guys who are out here willing to take this thing over. I'm going to say it's going to be very hard for the superstars of 10 years ago to be able to get back in it because it's the new crop of these young athletes is just off the chain. And God forbid they find that guy down in San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama, one veteran player to be able to play with. It's a wrap. It's a wrap for them. Right now, we got the Boston Celtics versus the Indiana Pacers. We got the Dallas Mavericks, who have become Ty Talk's new adopted team since they did him a favor and took out Oklahoma City. And if you don't understand, the line behind that is real simple. Oklahoma City used to be in Seattle, and they left in the middle of the night, just like the Colts did to get their asses out of Baltimore back in the day, because no one wants to pay that expensive ass rent to live in Seattle, Washington. But
True.
you got the Mavs versus the Timberwolves. Timberwolves have a young up and coming cat named Anthony Edwards, who, for all intents and purposes, might have the older school of them mentality, where he doesn't really want to be friends. He wants to get out there and show you that he's the best. Right now, it's kind of catching up to him, like he's hit that wall because he's had to do so much physically and mentally. Shout out to the homie Bomani Jones on his podcast, talks about how Anthony is carrying 14 feet of alleged buster with him because Rudy Gobert and Anthony Towns might happen to be two of the worst guys in the world at being over 7 feet tall. But hey, we'll let Mr. Jones have that one. That's his platform to die on. But it's been a really good playoff. You had you had Indiana being able to withstand the Knicks, and the Knicks were a young up and coming team. Shout out to them, Mr. Jalen Brunson, the Villanova kids that came together as a collective and tried to get New York basketball back to be relevant. It was just a damn shame that they all had to play too many minutes because their team was depleted, and then the physicality of the series caught up to them, and Game 7 wasn't competitive at all between them and Indiana. But that's just a war of attrition that goes on sometimes with sports. But it's a really good time to watch the NBA right now. Um, like I said, this transition of power is taking place, and what these guys are competing is for who's going to be the one. And I only don't want the Boston Celtics to win because I don't think Boston deserves any more celebrating. They went from being the 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 crying stock and laughing stock of professional sports, and from the time we get to 2004 to now, I think that Boston might be in the lead of the one city with the most professional championships. Um, some punk ass that used to pay for the Patriots has a lot to do with that. But all of them, it takes a success, and all of them have been to the finals, from hockey to baseball to basketball, even to football. And I think it's very rare to have a city that's been able to do that all in in the same them in LA, just them in LA. I don't. I think they're the only two in the last 20 years that have one title in each of the four major sports. And I could be wrong about that, but I doubt it because I'm pretty good at that shit. Uh, but yeah, man, it's a good time to watch. Good time to watch. Even if you're into hockey, man. Even if you're into hockey, the New York Rangers are trying to become one of the rare President Trophy winners to actually make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs. If you're unaware what the President's Cup is, the team with the best record in hockey gets presented a nice little cup to be recognized for their accomplishments. And it's almost a death curse too, because no President's Cup
Never.
winner in the last 12 years has won the Stanley Cup. So Rangers are trying to debunk that, and they had a pretty good game today in their battle with the Florida Panthers. So it's just a good time to be flipping through the TV. We got a lot of options right now. If you're into the WNBA, we got to give a shout out to our girl Caitlin Clark. Finally got her first W the other night, hitting a dagger three to get the job done. But she is also understanding the lineage of this league and how it goes down. That she is going to be the one, but she is going to have to outplay somebody to be able to go do it. That girl Jewel Lloyd up there in the
I
Pacific
told you.
Northwest gave
I
her
told you.
37-10 the other night.
That
the,
young
the,
woman's
the,
filthy, bro.
she was ready to go out the jump. It was like Just in case you forgot, I'm the best thing up here in Seattle sports right now, and I'm gonna whoop that ass and show you. Sometimes you gotta pop out and show fools, and she was ready to go. Gave Caitlin 37-10 the other night, and the Storm's victory over him. But it's those growing pains she's gonna have to go through. And it's not just her too. What was it? Girl from the Sun the other night just took out Angel Reese and had no qualms about it. It was like, I'll do that shit again if she comes back on the court. They're bringing a lot of eyes, they're bringing a lot of attention, and what it is it's making people to pay attention to women's sports, and that is something that has been long overdue. Let's not just make this about two names in a rookie class come. It's the fact that women's sports in this particular genre of sport is getting the recognition it deserves, and that is long overdue for those women. You've got some killers out there in that sport, and now they're getting a chance to be able to get their talent showcased, and it's all for it. It's all for it. Harrison Bucker may not think so, but I do.
I mean, he had his opinion. I talk about being tone deaf on when to speak it. Maybe at his church congregation amongst people with the exact same beliefs as him might have been a better platform, not where I think 60% of college graduates nowadays are women, and he's saying it at a college graduation. That's neither here nor there, bro. But so the Indiana Fever came to Seattle this past week, and you are the one that was even astute enough from down in the Southwest to know the Seattle Storm are one of the most popular WNBA teams within their own region. And when Caitlin Clark came to town, it was the most sold Storm game in the history of the franchise. They've won, I think, 4 titles in their history. Extremely popular, Hall of Fame players, and that's the type of needle moving that Caitlin Clark is doing. So good for her. A rising tide raises all ships, and I do kind of like how a lot of the established WNBA veterans are full of piss and vinegar about this. It makes for a good league, and leagues that have defined villains and quote good guys, it's good for the pro sports league no matter which it is. It gets the fans interested, and more importantly, can you get casual fans interested?
Mhm.
Are you the type of sport that can get your cousin, your wife, and your sister to want to watch? That's when shit becomes really successful. So I love that. You left me so much food for thought. So hockey is a sport I didn't play growing up, and I love to watch it because it's extremely entertaining. But I don't understand the minutia, the scheming, the tactics the way I do the other sports. But one thing that was awesome was last year the Seattle Kraken made the playoff. They made a crazy first round upset over the Avalanche, who on paper was a vastly better team. It was lit up and crazy up in the Northwest for the Kraken. They had a come back to Jesus type of year this year, which the analysts actually said was going to happen. But you're right, fun times. And in terms of the NBA, I think Adam Silver is a doofus. I think there is way too much talent. There's way too much talent and skill in the NBA for the ratings to be dropping his entire tenure. So I put it on him. Like they need to market the league smarter. Tyrese Halliburton and Anthony Edwards needed to be on TV 4 times as much as they have been, because people when they're watching hoop will recognize, like, yeah, you can put on the main teams and the main old stars, but you're going to tune out quickly if it's a boring game. You put those kind of dudes on and you got guys like me saying, holy shit, who is that guy?
Who is living David Stern's worst nightmare? In the fact that if David Stern was alive right now, and other really than Boston, and maybe Indy can look this up for us. I know he has limited capabilities right now because he's on the road traveling as well, doing his thing. But I believe that even Boston is barely a fringe top 10 media market. Everything
Mm,
else is a very small media market right now left in the NBA playoffs. And I know people say, oh, well, Dallas is one of the seven largest countries. That's not how they really measure media markets. It doesn't really go off the city size. And Dallas competes with Houston, and Houston is still bigger than Dallas is. So
yep.
that's going to draw away from Dallas's take. If it were football, it'd be completely different. But we're talking NBA here. The fact that it's Podunk, Minnesota, and Podunk, Indianapolis, just there's nothing better he could hope for right now, but for both of them to get swept, and he has to ride with the Dallas Boston final. Denver, Miami, even Miami's a small media market. Yeah.
Hmm.
Denver, Miami had to be one of the worst performing finals that they've had in a very long time. But here's what the thing is: the Supermax contract is different. The Supermax contract allows the team that you play on to offer you one more additional year than it does if you were to be able to qualify for the Supermax and then go somewhere else. So you're going to in the future have a lot of guys staying where they're at because they can make more if they stay loyal to their team. When they created it that rule to be able to create loyalty, and then they forgot to look at who was up on deck for it. Luca has a chance to make $500 million if he
Oh.
stays in Dallas. He ain't going nowhere. Jason Tatum has a chance to make $500 million. He ain't going nowhere if he stays there because the local team you play on can offer you more than anyone else because the local home team gets to give you one more additional year than the other team does. What happened when Ant gets up for that? He's already qualified and he stays in Minnesota. What happens with Halliburton qualifies because he made his rookie team and he stays in Indianapolis. Paulo Banquero, that's a bad dude. What if he decides to stay in Orlando? You're going to have some of these superstar legacy teams without the superstar legacy players who are going to be the new wave of this generation carrying it. And that's where he's going to have a major problem is that the Lakers may not matter in 2 seasons once LeBron is gone and have to go through that whole rebuilding phase. And unfortunately, God rest his soul, they don't have a Kobe on deck to be able to pull them out of that fire. The Knicks are his next best chance to keep eyes on a top media market with the team. I honestly think the Knicks are better without Julius Randle. And they're going to have to figure that out as Julius Randle comes back. Problems you do not want to have. Bulls ain't been relevant since Jordan left the first time. Yeah, they had a couple cute years with Derrick Rose. Tell me what they've done after that. Going to be really tough for the NBA to be able to survive this changing of the guard when arguably the best player in the NBA right now, Nikola Jokic, plays in Denver, Colorado, and does not play for the Broncos. Think about that for national TV attention.
Okay, I hear you. I just get him on TV. Force feed him though. I mean, the NFL, the preeminent team right now is the Kansas City Chiefs, and you want to talk in the middle of the country here. You got to get your best players on TV and hope that the fans are going to recognize who's balling out. And it might be kind of a painful process. But I mean, look in the history. The Chicago Bulls were complete trash before they got Michael Jordan. The Cleveland Cavaliers were complete trash before they got LeBron James. The Miami Heat, they've actually always been good, but they got D Wade, then they recruited LeBron. Like there are teams that can become ultra popular from a TV and rating standpoint if you put them on TV enough for us to learn about these guys. And then the biggest factor is I don't know how they're gonna do it because of the players union, but they got to have guys playing more. Dude, I have a story.
Football
So
allegiances are different. Football allegiances are crazy different. I
yeah,
was
okay.
listening to I was listening to Shannon and Ocho Cinco talk about this. With the amount of money that Amazon and Netflix are paying to have these games put on, and Gilbert Arenas was trying to scream, was like, well, you guys need to take more power and lock out, lock out. And Shannon was like, you don't understand how football works. Even if we did lock out, the fans don't care. The loyalty in football is to the team and not to the players. So they are going to watch Kansas City versus Cincinnati, even if Mahomes and Burrow aren't out there. We are all going to end up on Stream East. For those of us who aren't willing to pay for Amazon and Netflix and everything else you're going to have to watch, carry this year just to be able to watch football on the holidays, we're going out there to go get it. The NFL is like that. The NFL is crack, baby. The NFL is crack when Frank Lucas was selling it, pushing that blue magic. We are going to do whatever it takes to get our eyes to that NFL product, no matter who's out there. Even if they're playing third strings, no name, lockout guys, the NFL is a drug in the United States of America that is like no other. Basketball does not have that leeway for it. Baseball definitely doesn't have that leeway for it. Baseball is still recovering basics from their last work shortage. You got these shitty TV contracts that are going out, teams dropping, guys are gonna have to pick up the tabs for regional sports contracts. That will never happen in the NFL. No matter what it is, we watch it. Everybody think about when it's the last two games of the season and the playoff teams are hurting or are sitting their starters and everybody. You think those games take dips in the ratings? Nope. You think attendance is hurting? Nope. Matter of fact, attendance might be higher in those because people who paid for those high dollar seats who don't want to go watch it, they're going to put them up on the market. And oh
Mm.
my God, I could take my kid to an NFL game and send these seats, and it's not going to cost me what it would have cost me in week 16. Done. Football's a drug like no other in America. So they don't have that like they don't have that. Basketball is going to have to make the move to an international product, just like what baseball is, because a lot of their superstar talent right now, especially if the league is going to be in the hands of Luca and Joker moving forward, and Wembyamba too. You're those international eyes are what's going to get it. And that's what makes basketball contracts very expensive. That's why NBC is about to blow up TNT, paying them more for it, especially in the year with the Olympics
Mm.
getting ready to come on. That blitz that NBC is going to put together for that advertising is going to be off the fucking chain, my brother. But again, for basketball and baseball don't have the leeway that football does, being able to have your dominant team in a small market because we follow football in a way differently than we do any other sport.
Okay. Well, and here's the thing too, I guess, is you get to see these teams though. Like, when am I ever gonna watch a Kansas City Royals? When they play the Mariners, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so I do see what you're saying from the publicity standpoint, because you got to be able to see them. If I can't watch them, I'm not going to watch them. So
Yeah, and they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Um, Reason why
I
the
don't
NFL is
think the
number one.
NBA knows what they're doing, but I mean, hey, they're
They
you're right.
have
It's an unfair fight. It's an unfair fight
it's a
playing to
very
go against the
it's a
NFL.
very unfair fight. Very
But
unfair.
they got to compete with themselves though, and they got to get to at least that level, because ever since the Warriors and Cavs rivalry stopped, it's been downhill on viewership, and the league has too much quality for it to go down. So I'm not saying I have all the answers. I don't get paid 20, 40, whatever $1 million that Adam Silver is, but they got to come up with something.
Oh, they're gonna come up with a way for a lot of us to pay attention to what's going on, and we'll use that to segue into our next topic. LeBron James Jr. is reportedly right now at the top of FanDuel and DraftKings list to be the number one player drafted in the NBA draft. Now, here's the kicker in the room. There's been long talk of speculation just because he has always said it is his dream to be able to play with his son. Are you buying into the notion that LeBron James is going to force his way onto whatever team that drafts his son, even if his son gets drafted.
I don't think he needs to force it. If I'm an NBA owner, I was looking at the standings and looking at all 30 teams, at least half the league would be insane not to at least try to sign LeBron. Now, you and me on text message were going over the league calendar for the NBA. So the draft will happen. And then 2 days after the draft is the deadline for player options to be declared either way. And then about 10 days after the draft, free agents can sign with whoever they please. LeBron James, as we know, has a player option. So this is a thing. Would I spend a first round pick on Bronny James? Maybe not. It's a weak draft, anyways. I looked at the top 50 prospects. I know like three guys. I know like three guys. And you were talking about the international standing. This is your your best point about where the NBA needs to go business wise. Because two of the top five picks are going to be Frenchmen. Wembyama took the league by storm, Frenchman. We know about Joker. We know about Doncic. We know about Giannis. We were talking about maybe the best thing for the NBA All Star Weekend would be the world versus the U.S. That shit might be absolute fire. But what I'm basically getting at, dude, is Bronny James is at best probably a fringe second round pick to undrafted, and that's if you're being extremely optimistic. But from a business standpoint and even a winning standpoint, say I'm the Atlanta Hawks. I have a couple good players. Trey Young is a star, at least in terms of name recognition. I draft Bronny James. I bring in LeBron. We are instantly a playoff team. Do I think they're a championship team? No. But a playoff team sure makes a shitload of money for the ownership group. And the Hawks aren't the only team I could say that will benefit greatly from the ownership standpoint. Even the Lakers, if they want to kiss LeBron's ass that much, could draft Bronny in the second round. It Indy brought it up that the Lakers, their tickets are the most insanely expensive ticket in the league already. It is even going to go up if they have the father and son combo. Do I think the Wolves, the Nuggets, the Celtics, the Mavs, or any of maybe the top 10, top 15 teams in the league should do that? Absolutely not. You have good things going. You don't want to ruin that. But trust me, there's half the teams in the league that will benefit greatly. And then I just want to go in really quickly, dude. I looked up a few things. There is only a 13% chance of finding a good NBA player in round two. And when they define good, they go by the like basically a war type of scale for baseball. Patrick Beverly's 28.2. So I'm not talking about a superstar, just a quality NBA player is a 20. 13% chance of finding a good NBA player. Only 2.5% of all second round picks ever have made an all star team. If I'm in the bottom half or bottom third of the league, I'm drafting Bronny in the second round and just praying that I can get LeBron.
When I look at it, one of the things that comes to my mind is I don't know if LeBron James Jr. is an NBA talent. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. 6'1", maybe 200 pounds, was medically cleared to be able to play. And shout out to him for battling through that cardiac arrest because God knows that's a scary thing to be able to see, especially to a young man. We all were affected by seeing it happen to Damar Hamlin on the field. For it
Oh,
to happen to a night, for it to happen to an 18-year-old even before he starts college, just scary, scary. Shout out to him for making it through that and fighting to even get this chance to be able to be recognized. I'm not sure he, out of LeBron's two sons, is the one that's the NBA caliber player. Bryce is 6'5", built like his dad. So that at least keeps you in with other guards. Because we look at Curry and think Curry's a little guy. Steph Curry's a legit 6'4", 6'5".
mm.
Chris Paul 6'4", 6'5". They just look small to the giants that they're standing around. Um, 6 points a game, decent shooter. It is the ultimate sign of nepotism at its full advantage if LeBron James Jr. gets a chance to be on an NBA roster. I don't think he's talented enough. I think he should go back to school. I do believe that the thing pushing it is his dad wants to be able to try to play with him. And then there's also the runaround we're already starting to get, where Bronny says it's not important for him to play for his dad. His dad is saying he needs to be his own man, and I'm not going to go interfere in the combine, this, that, and the other. I think that's absolute bullshit. I think the plan is already in place for someone to be able to make the trigger,
Oh
pull the
yeah.
trigger on it. We're just going to have to wait 6 weeks to be able to see it before they can do it legally. Again, shout out to the kid for having the perseverance to fight through his health problems and everything that he's needed to get done in order to get to this point where he can even be considered for this. But again, for me, I don't personally think he's good enough to be in the NBA. Could he make a G League team a lot of money for 2 weeks? But I just don't see him being talent. I just don't see him having the talent the way that he is. ESPN isn't going to see it that way. They're going to hammer this thing home to try to get somebody to draft him. And if you even see Kendrick Perkins was on TV the other day saying, "Nah, we shouldn't be doing this at all. That kid is not ready," and they just shut him down. But he's going to have the power of the media machine behind him. He's going to have his dad working this in the back scene. Maverick Carter and Rich Paul, the two smart men. Do I think that it happens? Unfortunately, I think it does. Do I think that it should happen? No, it shouldn't. I think that kid deserves to go back to college and make sure that his body is right. NBA game is tough. NBA game is physical. Let at least give him the fighting chance to have a decent career. But you also then look at sons of the great ones. Jerry Rice's kid is going to have a chance to get in the league and see if he could be anything like his dad. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get a chance to be in. Those teams are kind of hit and miss. Archie Manning sucked ass, and both of his kids are better than he is. Tell me how many points that Michael Jordan's kids averaged at the University of Illinois and the University of Central Florida. Shit, just talent
I
doesn't
know it
always
was more
trickle
than
down.
Bronny because one of them went to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, but it wasn't on the strength of him being the leading carrier of that team, though.
Well, I get that. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it.
just it's tough. It's tough. It's
It
tough.
is. So, I think why I've taken my stance so clearly is because there's like 10 million losers on the internet that are just shitting on this young man constantly. And I don't think they get the big picture. Like, this is a business decision. And you want to talk about nepotism? Of course it is. And guess what? The world we live in. Nepotism runs planet Earth, bro. Look at any rich and powerful person, whether it's the king and queen of England, whether it's George Bush Jr., whether it's Bronny James, I mean, Hal Steinbrenner, Jerry Jones' son. We could come up with a million different people where they became probably a billion, like rich and powerful just because of nepotism. So that's not something I'm going to get into. You're born into it or you're not for
Yeah.
99% of those people. What I am going to say, though, is just because I've been devil's advocate on this situation with Bronny James. NBA guys that had worse freshman year stats than him are Russell Westbrook, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, John Stockton, and Devin Booker. And then I look at a Northwest legend. I mean, he's not an NBA legend, but he's a Northwest legend. Avery Bradley, very successful NBA career. Never an all star, but 10-year defensive player. 6'2", with a 6'7.25" wingspan and a 37.5 vertical leap. Bronny James, 6'1" and a half, 6'7.25" wingspan with a 40.5 vertical jump. Now, I'm not the one that's going to toot the horn saying that Bronny James is a lock NBA star, even an NBA rotational or NBA bench guy, but it's not out of the realm of possibility when second round draft picks are basically scratch tickets from your local gas station. And just for what it's worth, CBS Sports right now has Bronny James ranked as their 56th prospect, which means he's four picks in the draft opposed to out. So take it for what it's worth, but I am pounding the table that there's a lot of idiots on the internet that don't really get the big picture of why this is reasonable within the context of everything in terms of $1 billion industry.
It's going to have the chance to change the fortunes of one franchise, even if it's just lightning in a bottle for 2 years. Because
Yeah.
LeBron's not going to sign more than 3 years. That's just not what he
Mm-hmm.
does. It's going to give you a chance. Can you make this thing happen and parlay it into media success, promotional success, ticket sales success, and success on the court before LeBron hangs it up? It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out moving forward here over the next 5 weeks leading to the draft. But before then, we are going to have a pretty exciting NBA Finals with the final score just coming in. The Matsumoto Mavericks now have a commanding 3-0 lead over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Boston had the 3-0 lead over the Indiana Pacers. They'll at least get some name recognition with some players and some cities who were who at least have more than five high schools in them representing the NBA this year's in the finals. So we'll definitely see if the machine allows this to come through in its fruition. But for all intents and purposes, it does look like the NBA Finals is going to be the Boston Celtics versus the Dallas Mavericks. And there's a very interesting dynamic in that too. Kyrie going back to Boston after all the
Oh.
fun stuff that happened there during his tenure. Boston fans aren't the most polite fans in the world. They didn't even appreciate having Bill Russell while he was there. But that's just how it goes. You don't get your flowers until after you die.
Man.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
it's going to be fun. They're both 3-0 right now. And what's funny to me is the semifinals were extremely competitive. But as you know, it's an extremely skilled league, but the skill level that Kyrie and Luca bring to the table, the skill level plus the creativity, I just love it.
Oh, absolutely. If this is the matchup that we get, I think it's a wash. I think that Kyrie and Luka are too much for Boston. Um, but again, we still got to. They still each have one more win to get to secure it, and then the NBA Finals will be starting on June 6th on your local ABC networks. There, your man Ty Talks 24. I'm that dude RG. Shout out to the super producer Indy coming to us all the way from Charleston. He is on a road trip right now. We wish him the best in his travels. Normally he chimes in a little bit more, but he's working remote with doing the equipment that he has to without his studio there with this. So we thank you for always making it sound like $1 million. Our last segment of the night is one we want to be a little bit serious about and kind of take off our podcast headphones and put on something that's real that we want to talk to you about. I want to make sure I get his name correct before we get into the segment. Mr. Grayson Murray, professional golfer this year, member of the PGA Tour, aged 30 years old, was playing in an event this weekend, withdrew himself out of the event on Friday, talked about suffering an illness. 24 hours later, the report comes out that Mr. Murray had passed away. No one really knew the circumstances of it. They just said what he told them, that he wasn't feeling well when he left the course on Friday. Earlier today, as of this recording on May 26th, this is Sunday, his parents released a statement earlier in the day that he took his own life at age 30, living a dream, and just succumbed to his demons at such an early age. And I'm a little bit older than the guy is. I'm not the oldest man in the world. I'm 40 years old, but I have seen events like this happen throughout the course of life. I want to give a shout out to two of my brothers, Mark Young and Aaron Skinner. Each of them this year have had one of their coworkers and someone that they were close with make the painful choice that this world would be better without them than with them. and took their lives. One happened in January, the other one recently happened 2 weeks ago. I will say this: no matter what you're going through and what you suffer through, you making that decision is not going to make the world a better place tomorrow. This world is still going to be filled with pain. This world is still going to be filled with anger. This world is still going to be filled with tough choices. You not being here just makes the world that much more tougher. Hopefully, you have someone to reach out to. Hopefully, you have someone you can talk to. We are all in this thing together. If you feel that you have run out of hope, I don't care if you have to ring my phone, email us if you need someone to talk to. You can reach out to me, Tyler, Indy, no matter who you are in this world. Please don't ever feel alone enough that you feel that the decision you have to make is one of total finality. This world is a much better place with you in it than you without it. Ty, talk to him.
Wonderfully said, RG. And just rest in peace to this Grayson Murray PGA Tour golfer. Our biggest condolences to his family and condolences to families and friends who are grieving the loss of someone in general, but today, especially someone that took their own lives. RG, you made the most poignant text I've seen in years today when you texted me that one man's dream can be another man's nightmare. We're not trying to get in this man's head at all, but you always think that being a pro athlete, having millions of dollars in career earnings, PGA Tour wins, that all of that will just automatically buy you happiness. And we don't know what goes through people's minds all the time. And a lot of people suffer in silence. And in the year 2024, as a society, we are better than ever about being open and about being accepting towards different mental illnesses, but we're still not 100% of the way there yet. And we just want to reach out since we have this platform to tell people that to call your friends, call your loved ones. If you know Ty Talks 24, if you know RG, if you know Indy, reach out to us because we care. Nobody wants to see anyone pass away, especially by their own hands. You never think this would happen to a pro athlete because we all just think that that life must be so glamorous, but obviously he had deeper issues than any of us could comprehend. I just want to give a quick shout out right now. If anybody is struggling at all, if you're struggling at all with suicidal thoughts, call or text 988, or if you want to talk to a person live, 1-800-273 TALK. 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-TALK is the suicide and crisis hotline. And because of reading up on this Mr. Murray as well, there is an alcohol abuse helpline, 844-714-7186. 844-714-7186. We like to keep it live. We like to have fun on this show, but we're a group of people that care about people. We care about society. We care about loved ones. Do not be afraid to reach out if you need help for any issues. We truly care about every listener, and way beyond that, the reason we can chew the fat so well with each other is we're people's people. We wish the best for everyone. So please don't be ashamed and don't be afraid. Reach out if you need help.
There's nothing more important in this world than the people in it. Nothing more important in this world than the people in it. This place wouldn't be the same without you. Please reach out if you need help. Man, that's your man Ty Talks. The man indie super producer all the way rocking with us from Charlotte tonight, away from the home studio in Nashville. Vaden Podcast Services for all they do for us, for making sure that we hit the airwaves each and every week. You can follow us on. You can follow the show live each and every week on Twitch and YouTube. You can check for us when the podcast is released on DSPs. You can find us on Apple Music. You can find us on Spotify. Be sure to check out our socials. My at my oh my ASP. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Facebook. Drop us a line, review the show, give us a thumbs up, review us, talk to us, talk your shit. You want to come on and prove me and Ty wrong about something? We're happy to have you, but you better do your homework. Cause we coming for your head if you come for the king, baby. Man, Man, again, just so special to be able to be back. Thank you all for holding down the show while I was out on the road. I do have a professional job, and up until this podcast can take over that, I do got to stay faithful to it. But nothing brings me more joy than being able to log on with Ty and Indy, talk sports with you all, have you all listen to our thoughts, have you all listen to our opinions, give us that good positive feedback. Even if you have something negative to say, the feedback ain't nothing but barbershop talk, and we could always hammer it out. If you're gonna come with stats and you want to go with stats with Ty, I'm telling you, do your homework. That boy's vicious right there with it. Again, shout out to Katie Matsumoto, our social services director, our social media director, for always having that presence for us out online, knowing where you can find us. And we thank you all for riding with us again. May the Lord watch between me and you while we're absent one from another. And we'll see you next week for another show on My Oh My. It's another sports podcast brought to you exclusively by Vaden Podcast Services.